Drifting in AE86 with power steering is almost sacrilege because one of the first things that most people do in an AE86, if it came with power steering, is rip it all out, put a manual rack in because you get more angle, and then there's less horsepower being robbed from the engine from the power steering pump and all that. But I've been drifting my car with the manual rack for over a decade, and I put a quick ratio rack in it as well as a pretty extreme angle, really short knuckles, so the steering effort is very high. So now I have changed the steering column for a power steering column. There are a couple of different types of electric power steering. There's electric hydraulic, like the Volvo power steering pump that a lot of people run with their hydraulic rack, or back in the day, people run an SW20 MR2 hydraulic pump with their power rack. Now, because I have a manual rack, that leads me to something a little different. Electric column is what I've opted for. There's also another type of electric power steering you see in like S550 Mustangs, where it's actually a motor mounted to the rack, but I opted for the electric column because I can't fit a hydraulic rack and I also can't fit a electric rack. Not many people seem to run this. They don't really like it. They say it doesn't self-steer well enough, doesn't self-center. There's a couple of different things that people complain about, and I'm curious if that's just because AE86 guys are so used to having so much feedback from the wheel, the manual rack, that they don't like this. So today, we're gonna put it to the test and see how it does. I did do a couple laps last night to kind of feel it out, and I don't think it's as bad as people say it is.
Like a Logitech wheel for a Assetto Corsa. It's not horrible, but not great. So like, you'll see I throw the wheel back the other direction because it's being kind of weird. And my handbrake isn't working super well today either, so steering is just different. I see what people mean when they say it doesn't self-steer well. I think it's not bad. It really is just a matter of learning how to drive differently. Because 86 guys are used to driving the manual steering. It's how it's been for years. This is the first time that I've tried electric power steering in an 86, other than a street car. And I think I like it. I definitely want a little more self-steer ability, so probably need to add caster, increase caster, and I would say probably need to get the controller for it, so that way it self-steers. It's got a little more oomph, a little more power. But other than that, like, honestly, this is really good. Really good. I like it a lot.
Okay, you can see just from the couple of laps at night, my opinion changed from the beginning to the end. And I started thinking, oh, it's like a low quality sim setup, you know, the Assetto Corsa. And at the end, I was like, you know, this ain't so bad. And I do mention a controller. There is like an aftermarket controller that you can plug into the module that comes with the power steering. And what that does is that it gives you an adjustment knob. I think what it does is it adjusts the level of steering assist, but I'm not 100% on exactly what it does. But it does definitely change drivability. So that's on the list of things to install in this car to go back and retest it. But, you know, after watching the video for both night and daytime laps, I have some better thoughts of how I think it drives and what I think it needs. I don't put that at the end, but right now, let's just go back and watch some of the daytime laps so you can see a little bit better, and as I got used to it, how it drives, as well as some of the other quirks with it.
The startup sequence is a little goofy because way down here, that's my ignition switch. I should wire up a push button, but I haven't done that yet, so I have to like reach down here. I could use a screwdriver, but I'm just using the old key. Get it started. That goes in there, and now we'll go get on track. One of the things that a lot of people say about the electric steering is it doesn't like self-center or self-steer very well, and I think that's true. Like, there's kind of this dead spot right here in the middle where it just doesn't know what to do. So it's kind of weird, kind of annoying, but it seems to be more of an issue when street driving versus when you're drifting. It seems to work okay. All right. One of the things I really like about Muscleman is it's like a hot lap track. I chucked it in too early. There we go. So it self-steers seemingly just fine. Ooh, somebody's off track there. So it seems to self-steer just fine. If you notice, I do like throw the wheel back on transition sometimes, and I think that's just my default of like, I do that when I'm sim drifting, and so that seems to apply in this case of like, with the electric steering, I think I just don't trust it because I'm used to such heavy steering with the manual stuff that because this doesn't whip as hard, I'm like, I don't know if I trust this, you know? My bumper fell off. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That one was keeping it on. Okay. That was so rad! I'm gonna do that again. Oh man, that entry was so sick. I gotta do that again. Okay, we're gonna let tires cool off a little bit here. Oh man, that was a backwards entry. That was so sick. Oh, and I lost it. Ah. Oh, this is so cool. That was so sick. I want to do that again. Reverse entry, that was so sick. I could have pulled it out too, but I just had, I wasn't quite deep enough into the corner. This is rad. Okay, I like the electric power steering now. At first I really wasn't sure. It just doesn't, it drives different. And I think once I've kind of gotten used to it driving different, it's good. All right, we'll do one more lap and then we'll let the car cool off. I might be getting too much speed here, so let's see. Let's keep it kind of mild. Okay. Alright. We're gonna let tires cool off now. Let the car cool off. Oh, that was so sick. So sick. Yeah. Ah, so good.
Alright, after driving this in the day and at night, I think I've finally figured out how the electric steering works and why people don't necessarily like it. I definitely have to work the wheel a little bit differently. I don't want to say it's more. It's less physical demand because it's, you know, going from manual to power steering, but it doesn't always rotate the same. So you have to be really cautious of it. You can't feel as much as you could before. So you just have to be aware of that, of, okay, you gotta really rely on other senses than you do with your normal manual steering on an 8.6. But overall, I really like it. I mean, this allowed me to do some really aggressive transitions, really aggressive initiations, and like you saw, I threw it back kind of unintentionally, and unfortunately I was a little too shallow, otherwise I could have pulled that off, whereas the manual steering, there's no way I would have been able to pull that off because the steering effort at that point is so high at that high angle. If you are looking for purely a bolt-in, everything fits the same as factory, this isn't probably the solution for you. As you can see, that's my turn signal switch. I left it so I could have lights, but that's, you know, still there, just zip tied up, and you know, that's my ignition switch hanging down there. As far as the install goes, it's pretty straightforward. There's 3 wires, power, ground, and ignition power that you wire up. I just made some brackets in there. Let me post some pictures here to hold that, to bolt it into the stock location. And then inside of the engine bay, I don't know if you can see it, you can see the steering intermediate shaft down there. What I did was I took the AE86 intermediate shaft and column and welded that together with the one from the Yaris to make it all work and bolt in and all that stuff. One of the things I have in order for this is a controller, like a bias controller that allows you to change like how much feedback and how much steering assist it provides. So that's on its way. I just didn't have it for this event. This is just the default setting. The Yaris ones and the Prius ones, you power up, you give it a couple seconds and it goes to a default value. I think other power steering or electric columns don't work that way, but this one does. So at least it works, and even in the base setting, I like it. It took a little bit of getting used to, but I like it. I think one of the reasons why it works so well for me is because I have the Just Engineering Super Angle Kit, which has really short knuckles, I have my rack relocated an inch forward, and I also have the Flow's quick ratio steering rack in here. A little different view on this side to see if you can see the knuckles under there and everything. Electric power steering goes good. This is really fun to be able to drive and not be super worn out yet. Normally at this point I'd be like, I need to take a break because I'm physically exhausted, but that's not the case here.
Car broke. I don't know what's going on. Oh no! The supercharger clutch is done! Oh, that sucks. That sucks a lot.
That was fun until it wasn't. Clutch of the supercharger is done, so now, shoot, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go through this. I'm gonna have to try and find the same size AC compressor, fully clutch. I don't know, man. But that's it for me. I'm back at home in the garage. The car is broken. Unfortunately, it ended my day earlier than I wanted it to, but I do have some good thoughts on this now. You know, I've heard a lot of people say really negative things about this power steering setup. So I was going into this thinking this was going to be bad. And I don't think it's bad at all. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how good it was. As soon as I kind of figured out how it drives, as someone who hasn't driven power steering consistently ever, like I've been drifting for over 10 years and I've never had a power steering car. I've only done a couple laps in friends' cars. It took me time to kind of get dialed in a little bit of how to react. And the other thing I noticed too is that, like, I've never had a tendency to over angle before and angle stall. And because I had manual steering, I could really find where I wanted to be, no problem. With power steering, it took away some of that feedback from the wheel. So it was a little harder to find that sweet spot. And so you'll see a lot of times I end up over angling when I shouldn't have. I think the couple things I have left to tweak on this is get the controller, right? That's on its way. And add some caster. Increasing caster should increase self-steer, and so what I'm hoping is that'll give me a little bit more feedback in the wheel. One of the other things that I can do is I can also adjust Ackerman with the Just Engineering Super Angle Kit. And that way I can get a little more feedback in the wheel and get it to respond a little bit differently, react a little differently. Honestly, I think the right combination for an AE86 for this to work well is the Just Engineering Super Angle Kit, as well as the quick ratio rack. I don't think that this would work well without those two things, just because the motor does cause the steering to counter steer slower. I have an idea to do another video comparing steering effort with the motor on, motor off, compared to the original column. And so I'd like to do some of that to really actually have data behind it. But the feel to me is that, yeah, it doesn't self-steer as fast, and that's not necessarily a problem as long as the rest of your car can accommodate. But this did solve some problems for me. So one of the things with the quick ratio rack, as well as the Just Engineering Super Angle Kit, is the steering effort is very, very high. It's manageable. I've been managing it for a couple of years, but this was great to not have my shoulders and arms like dead tired after drifting for, a couple hours. It also fixed a perceived bump steer problem. So that with having such high steering effort and having such a quick ratio steering, any little nudge in the road that moves the tires just a little bit transferred directly to the wheel and caused a perceived bump steer. But adding power steering actually entirely eliminated that completely. So that fixed the problem. As far as it doesn't self-center or self-steer, I don't necessarily think that that's true 100%. I think that it does slow the rotation of the self-steering or self-centering down a little bit, but
it's not bad enough for it to be a problem for me. And honestly, like I said, I'm really happy with this. There's nothing wrong with this that I'm going to want to pull it off. I'm going to leave this on. I have no problems like this. I felt confident at the end of the day that if my car hadn't broken, I was ready to go get some tandems and put it on people's doors. So I think I'm going to keep learning it and keep adjusting and keep tweaking it. But I'm really happy with this. And I think there is a way to make it work pretty dang good. It may not be as good as a really great sort of hydraulic system, but I think it's better than a regular manual system. And I know the 86 nerds are going to get really mad at me for saying that, but that's just how I feel. And like I said, overall, I'm really happy with this. Make sure to follow along because I do plan on putting some more videos out on the install, how I did it. I made a couple brackets, things like that, how the wiring is, as well as some of the other stuff involved with the controller and stuff like that. And I hope that you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.